give or take, how many active projects would Arrow have had when they went down?
Oh, goodness me. That's really hard to tell because
That's okay.
that
Yeah,
countrywide,
estimate it. Yeah,
I would have
countrywide, yeah.
thought. I mean, you're talking significant projects. It would have been 30, 40, 50.
Yep.
Like big, good-sized projects, anything sort of north of 5 million. I mean, I was doing a couple for them before the earthquakes, and they were smaller, but they were a big company at that time.
Okay, so they had about 40 projects ongoing.
Yeah,
And
maybe.
So how many of those projects would you categorize as high-risk
Yeah,
jobs?
well, I mean, given the contract and given the way that development or developers give these jobs to the contractor, I mean, geez, half of them. That's my view.
Right.
I'm looking at the jobs we do right now, and we're a much smaller business.
So what you're telling me is 50% of the jobs were likely to go over budget and over time.
I'd say it's not just the budget it comes down to responsibility and where the risk is.
Yep.
And I mean, one of the very, very key projects that Arrow had the problem with was to do with a lot of earthworks and reinforcing for the ground in terms of the foundations and whatnot. And that risk somehow fell on the contractor.
All your risk is in the ground. And,
Well,
and
90% of
Arrow
the time.
didn't tag out of that?
Well, I believe that they. Well, again, I don't know. I wasn't
okay,
involved
okay.
with it because
Yeah,
it's a
that's
different.
fine.
It was a different. I mean, bear in mind, this
I
is
mean,
happening much after me. but-
every main contractor I know would tag out of ground conditions. Because
Yeah, absolutely.
Because all your risk it's volcanic soil.
Yeah,
New Zealand's
correct.
full of volcanic soil.
Absolutely, yeah.
You don't know whether you're going to hit rock, whether you're going to hit basalt. You have no idea what you're going to hit. You don't know how deep your pile's going to go.
No,
you,
that's right.
You might have a design length, but when you actually start piling, mate.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what Dave Morton and I were talking about. With the,
Yeah, exactly
the
right.
ground risk,
Exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the same with us. We have those same risks generally. Yep. Tag out. And I don't think I don't think in the main one or one of the main jobs that really made them fail, I don't believe it was actually just solely that point, because they ended up in court against one of the civil contractors. So there was obviously some sort of massive issue that had happened there. But look, with main contracting, it's like anything. The kind of like the focus, and dare I say it, this is a really high level picture, and this is my perspective. But I think that the job of the developer is to offload all of the risk they possibly can onto the contractor without the contractor knowing. That's my view.
I fucking disagree.
You don't reckon? The developer's role is to try and offload as much risk.
See, I completely disagree. See, and that is why I believe our industry is in the state it is in.
Yeah.
Yeah, because NZ3910 completely promotes that transfer of risk from the client, your developer, who you want to call that person, over to the main contractor.
Yep.
Guess what happens from that point in time? The main contractor then divvies that entire risk and passes it downstream to all the subcontractors.
Yeah.
Fucking shit flows downhill. No. This is the behavior that's got to stop in this industry.
Totally agree. So actually, we're actually agreeing on the same point. This is actually the ultimate issue with the construction industry.
Yep.
Is that
it's the biggest problem.
Firstly, normally, and I say this because we're a developer as well, right?
Yep.
When we manage our own projects, we know that the risk is entirely ours. Fantastic. When you're aware of it and you can provision for it and you know what items you have to provision for, then that's absolutely fine. And so what we actually do is we do a very clean building contract with our own development entity. The builder is there for just building, and here's the things that we've allowed for. But you think about it in a normal case, a main contractor will go, oh, we've had this issue. And a lot of the time, you're going to get pushback from the client/developer because what they're trying to protect is their contingency.
Yep.
Because, of course, contingency falls to the bottom line if they don't spend it.
Because as a developer or a client, you don't want to go back to the bank and say,
Nope.
hey, I kind of need another $50 million.
Yeah.
Because...
Yeah.